gamers all around the flat universe. Today we're gonna do Mongol guide and explain you some basics around the Mongols, some maybe a little bit of advanced things, and hopefully you guys learned something new. I already did the English and the French guide, which you can check out on my YouTube channel. And like I said, today we're gonna do Mongols. Tomorrow maybe we'll do Rus, and we'll continue so till I've done all 8 civs. So there's a couple different situations I'll show you today regarding spawn. This is a very, very good spawn. This is like on a scale of 1 to 10. This is like probably like an 8. So it's a very, very good spawn. It allows you to be very greedy. And I'm also going to show you some examples when you get some kind of different spawns and what to do in those kinds of situations. Mongols is a very unique civ. I can't just say, oh, you just put a tower on your gold, right? For example, to defend, because sometimes your gold is next to your TC. So I'll kind of explain where you want to place your TC, which resources are the most valuable to protect, and hopefully, you know, over time when you play your games, you kind of learn and see what I mean. Regarding the build order today and playstyle, I will be showing you, in my opinion, probably the best Mongol playstyle. Mongol is not really a feudal aggression civ. There are other civs that do that way, way better. Mongol is the civ that does the tower rush, which we will not be doing today, and a civ that does fast castle extremely well, and probably one of the best civs for that. And the reason for that is you can place your TC next to your gold or wood or stone, or sometimes all 3 of those things, and it allows you to basically get to castle with 0 units. The goal of this is to, well, reach castle as fast as you can without dying, and then go straight into lancers and take the relics, make towers everywhere on the map, and take control of the map. That is the main playstyle, the main goal, and that's what I'll be teaching you today. So first things first, this is my spawn. As you can see, there's no point going here, no point going berries, because you will have pastures. So as a Mongol, you ignore berries, and most of the time, like 90% of the time, you ignore deer, you ignore boar. Your main food source will be sheep and pastures to create more sheep. So it doesn't matter what kind of map you get. Let's say this wood line was farther away and then this gold and stone were here. Even though it looks juicy maybe to place a TC here, no. You always, always, always want to place your TC and start next to the wood line, as close or towards the gold, towards the stone. That is the main thing. There's no other option for that. You need to be safe to the wood line, because you're going to be gathering wood for most of your game, and it's a lot easier to protect gold or stone with a tower than it is the wood line, because, you know, longbows can come behind, archers, and just create a mess. So what you want to do with Mongols, first thing is you will place your TC. So whenever you enter a game, there's a lot to do. You got to move the workers, Khan, and you got to move the TC. The first thing you do is you place a TC in a good spot. Then you move all 6 workers to the wood. Then you can send your Khan anywhere. Just send it somewhere to start, you know, moving, gathering the sheep. And then take 1 villager and build an uvu to whichever side the stone is. So if the stone is here, build it there. If the stone is here, build it there. And this is what you will do every game. Doesn't matter what the spawn is, doesn't matter the map, whatever. Unless you go for Mongolian heights on the water really early, you always do this. On this map, the best place to place a TC is right here. It's close to the gold. It's 1 tile space between the gold and my TC. I get the wood line, and this is, like I said, like an 8 probably, or maybe even like a 9 kind of spawn, because this is so close. It won't protect uvu from melee attacks from this side, but it will protect any buildings on this side. So I need very, very minimal defense in order to defend this and protect this. Now, also what you can do is you can use the Khan arrow ASAP, just to get that a little bit of a movement speed and start trying to find sheep and, you know, working on the resources. Usually you want to drop these 3 sheep off on your TC instantly, and then go scout around the map. Now, when to make a scout, when to not make a scout with Mongols. So I've said before that with most civs I make a double scout, and this is a little bit kind of complicated in a way, but like I said, the more you play, the more you'll realize what I mean. So early on with Mongols, wood gathering and wood spending is very important. In this game, I don't need to make a gur because it's one tile away in gold, so I'm not going to really get insane value early on from making a gur. It's kind of like a pointless thing. So instead, what I can do is I can get 150 wood, make a super early pasture on stone here, because stone is super close. Pasture will be protected by TC. So because I'm skipping gur, I can make a pasture, and then I can skip the scout for the extra sheep food, right? And this is something that you have to do every game. Or not have to, but this is something that it's good to practice and get used to it. So for example, if my gold was there, let's say this gold didn't exist. If my gold was here, my stone was here, what I would do is I would have to get gur, right? Because it's pretty far away. So then I would open with a second scout. And once I get 100 wood, I would make a gur here and then go on sheep. But I would skip pasture, perhaps, because if I make gur and pasture, it might delay your feudal quite a bit. It's not necessarily a bad thing to, or good thing to skip that first pasture if the gold is not close. But by skipping it, you can make a scout and you get a feudal a little bit quicker. So this is something that you can adjust. Basically, the rule that I use, if the gold is close to my TC, like one tile or next to my TC, I just skip the scout, I make a pasture, and I just go gold and food. If the gold is farther away, like in a bad spawn, maybe I'll just make a scout and just get food with my scout and con. Another thing to consider is if you play against Rus, obviously you want the second scout anyway. Or if you're playing against a civ that is heavily reliant on sheep and maybe you want to deny the sheep from them, you can also open a second scout. This is a very kind of like min-maxing, trying to get the most out of civ as possible. Not something that you necessarily have to 100% follow, but it's good to have in mind. But yeah, no matter what civ you play, you always go second scout against Rus. Or in this case, first scout plus con. So, I get 5 on wood. So what I'm going to do right now, and again, you always do this, and you will either spend 100 wood on gur if the gold is far away, or if the gold is close, you can get 150 wood, make a pasture, and then send them all over to food. I'm not going to, again, explain scouting. There's a scouting guide video in my YouTube channel as well. You can check that out. It's an older video, but it still holds up, so no reason not to check it out. So I'm building a pasture in the influence of Uvu, and this will make your sheep produce a little bit faster. Now, be careful. If your stone is like here, don't build pasture next to your stone. It doesn't have a lot of health, and also your opponent can kill sheep on the way to your TC. So only do pasture in the influence of Uvu if it's close enough to your TC where it cannot be killed, harassed, or your sheep, just get killed on the way to the TC. So that's something to consider. This won't make or break the game if your pasture is on influence or not. So, don't see it like, oh my god, my stone isn't close. I guess I'm behind in food. It's not that huge. So, you will see here, I put 1 on gold. General rule of thumb, if you play Mongols, put 8 on food and then 2 on gold, and then after that you can put 1-2 workers more on food, and then you rally on wood. That is the general rule of thumb I use. And again, this is something you can test yourself, play around, and if you do that and somehow you end up with more food and gold, then next time, maybe put 8 on food and 3 on gold to kind of make up for that difference. So right here, I think I go up to 10 actually, because I went for pasture and that delayed my my food gathering for a little bit. Yeah, I go for 10 here. Yeah, so you can do 10 too. And you'll see the resources will line up quite nicely. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start getting wood. A mistake that I see very often is people rally onto the food until they start making feudal. But with this income, the resources between gold and food will align very well. So you don't need more on food. You're rushing castle, you're not rushing feudal. That's something to remember. If you get feudal 10 seconds faster with Mongols, it won't make a difference, right? Because you gain nothing there. That is of value. I mean, Khan gets a little bit more damage, but it doesn't matter, right? So, again, if your gold is more than 1 tile away, you need a gur, but In this case, it's pretty close, so no. So yeah, I'm rallying on wood right now. And you should have, from this point on, as you're tech into feudal, you want 5 or 6 workers on wood. My preferred number is 6. And I'll explain that a little bit later. Once I have enough food and gold, you can see aligns pretty well. You go 3 on deer stones. You pretty much always go for deer stones unless you want to get crazy with silver tree and trade. And now I will have... I think I maybe pull 1 off of food here. Yeah, I pull 1 off of food. So I have 6 on food and I'm about to have 6 on wood. And another easy thing to remember. So once you get 10 on food, 2 on gold, then you go 6 on wood, then you go up to 3 on gold, and when these guys finish building this, they will go on gold as well. So most of the builds that I do with any civ, to not make it too complicated for myself, I usually send the 3 guys from the landmarks onto the gold if I need gold with that civ. So that's something that's easy to remember. Like the moment these guys are done, just rally them back to the gold. And there are some builds that include early wheelbarrow. It's a little bit detailed and complicated why people rush that, and I think for most people that won't really matter. So I'm basically doing landmark first into wheelbarrow. Again, wheelbarrow is extremely important. I talked about this in the previous 2 videos, and you should try and get it with any civ somewhat early on because it's a lot of value over the course of the game. It's about like 8 to 10% increase in resource gathering, which is great. So yeah, I'm making a gur here right now. I don't need it on wood because it's right next to my TC. So it's going to make the gold gathering a bit more efficient, but the main reason why I'm making gur now is so I can get that wheelbarrow started. Now, it's going to be pretty passive from here on out. This is, like I said, almost perfect spawn, but I will be giving you guys some details on how to react to things and what to do if people attack you, and I will be showing you what happens if you get a worse spawn and how to play from then on out. So my Khan is still scouting. I just delivered some more sheep, and now I'm going to go across the map, see what the opponent is doing, and start harassing the workers. Now, that's one benefit of Mongols. Khan is really good at harassing the opponent, just attacking villagers, just being annoying. And you should always go for the gold or stone villagers because they're easy to attack. You know, they're usually in an exposed spot, so you can harass your opponent. Try not to lose Khan. And one thing to note, the ability that Khan has, which is Scouting Falcon, that when, he uses it and then you see that part of the map for 30 seconds, Mongol scouts also have that. And they're the only scouts that can do that ability in the game. So that's something to note if you are making a scout. So from here on out, I will be playing pretty passive, and I will constantly be trying to scout with my Khan and harassing the opponent and making sure you know what they're doing so you can respond. Mongol is a very reactive civ if you play like this, and you need to react to your opponent while slowly reaching castle. That is your ultimate goal. So I have, let me see, I'm building a second pasture, and these villagers, okay, so villagers on food are clearly to reach castle, villagers on gold to reach castle. Villagers on wood are a little bit different, and I'll explain in a second. My wheelbarrow is about to start. As you can see, I have 146 gold, boom, and I'm gonna pop that wheelbarrow and start researching it. Now, what are the villagers on wood for, right? Because some people might think, well, you're rushing castle, why do you need wood? You're going to be using these 6 villagers to constantly add production, towers if you need, or pastures. So for example, right now you can see that the moment I had next 150 wood, I added another pasture, and then I'll add another pasture, because you need to sort that food economy to make sure you don't run out. Again, you don't want to be getting berries or deer or anything else. You want your food to be under the TC. So, if you get 3 pastures without your opponent attacking you, then you can consider making a tower, making a stables, whatever else. Slowly build up and just use one worker to build buildings, because you don't want to send workers back and forth constantly. Now, let's assume that you're playing against whatever. Let's say you're playing against English and they're making longbows. What do you make against longbows? You go for stables right now. So maybe instead of a third pasture, I'll make stables now. And I'll go for horses with the stone production, so I'll produce double at a time. What I would do is I would also add a tower here, upgrade arrow slits. Maybe instead of having 6 on gold, I would pull 3 away on wood, so I can make an archer range, because if you make horses, they're going to make spearmen. So you want to have both horsemen and archers, and then you want to kind of still have a couple workers on gold, a lot of workers on food, and about 10 on wood. And then slowly defend, keep producing your units, but over time, because everything you have is under your TC, you should be able to slowly age up, and once you do, you can go Lancers. Now, this is not something that, like I said, Mongol is a very weird civ in terms of like buildings, because you can add buildings at any point, you can move buildings, so it's a very reactionary civ to what your opponent is doing, like I said. So basically, if the opponent is going archers or longbows, you make stables. If they're being aggressive, you produce horsemen. If you see that they're making spearmen, you produce archers. If you see that they're producing men-at-arms, you produce horsemen and archer. And if you see that they're producing horsemen, you can either go for horsemen yourself, or you can go for spearmen. Now, in this case, with this kind of spawn, it would make no sense for the opponent to make horsemen, because they can't harass anything. But if your gold was like here, further away, you would need probably some spearmen against French, for example, and you would go for maybe spearmen, horsemen against French, just to be able to defend and slowly tech up to castle. So like I said, which buildings you make, defensive buildings or military buildings, depends on what your opponent is doing. And if the opponent is playing passive, like I'll show you guys in this game, then you just don't make any army. And you save all the resources for fastest castle, and then you use stone for Lancers. So, like I said, here I played a very, I made a build like a very passive, how to get the castle fastest way possible. You'll see the wood here, I have 143, I'm about to get 145, or 150, sorry, another pasture, and 3 pastures is good enough for this phase in the game. I also have a lot of sheep, because I found a lot of sheep with con. Sometimes that doesn't happen. And if you see now, I have 5 on wood. I think I misclicked actually. It should have been still 6, but I misclicked 1. And now I'm gonna, look, 150 wood. I'm gonna add stables. I'll add another stables. And your goal is to reach castle with 2 stables. And be able to have enough wood to make a monastery the moment you hit castle, because you want to start taking the relics. That is one of the benefits of Mongol. You take the relics, you take the map control, and from then on out, you want to have enough workers on wood so you can continuously produce towers on the map. Towers are not only giving you EM network for movement speed for your Lancers, but also it will give you map control, and it will allow you to see where your opponent is moving, and they will kind of feel suffocated by the Lancers, by the towers, and so on and so forth. So here, 6 workers still on gold, and if you look at the gold to food income, it will line up almost perfectly. This whole time I've been rallying workers onto the food, and it's going to line up almost perfectly for me to go castle. Not having any extra resources or wasted resources. Look at that, boom. I usually age up with about 8 to 10 workers. I think that's a good number, because the faster you get this step readout up, the faster or the better gold income you will get, and you can also produce your Lancers with 700 stone, which is kind of your goal. Now, I'm making stables, second stables, and I'm also sending a worker to make a tower right here. Making towers in Stealth Forest is really, really good. It makes it very hard for the opponents to engage into them because they can't see them until they start shooting. But not only that, you want to make them in a line where you will be sending your Lancers. So when your Lancers come out, they will get the speed boost in case your Deer Stones is not in range. So your knights will, or lancers will basically go through the tower range and get that movement speed so they can, you know, harass faster or whatever. And the moment I finish this tower, I like to have 1 or 2 workers, you know, then build a tower here, maybe build a tower there, build a tower on the other side, and kind of just gain vision everywhere if the opponent ever tries to move away from around their main base to gather resources or to gather gold or stone, whatever. You can see them, and then you can send your lancers to quickly deal with them. Again, step readout is gonna finish, and when it does, again, the way the resources line up, I will have, if you look now, I'm gonna have perfect amount of food and gold to make lancers ×2, so using the stone. And the first 4 lancers that come out will go straight to harass whatever is available. So try not to lose your con. It's very important to have con at this point, so you can see, literally see where you can harass, right? If the gold is open or wood line is open, that's where you send your lancers. It doesn't really matter which resource you deny at this point. Your goal is to kill villagers. So if you think you can kill villagers, you know, on the gold line here, go for that. If you think you can kill villagers on berries here, go for that. Just avoid spearmen at all times. Let's see, what else? So I'm about to have 200 wood, and I'm going to start that monastery as well. Prayer tent, sorry. And then I'm going to start collecting relics while keeping the map control with lancers. And these towers, you want to be upgrading with sprinkled emplacement. It's very important. Sprinkled emplacement is super, super, super strong. So arrow slits in castle versus like men-at-arms or knights won't really do anything, but sprinkled emplacement will do quite a lot. And you will only be making like 2 or 3 double lancers. After that, all your stone, all your stone will be used for sprinkled emplacements on towers that you're going to be randomly building on the map. And regarding prayer tents and monks or shamans, you're going to be collecting relics to make that you can get for sure. And in the perfect world, you want to collect those ones that are contested first. So I set a rally point here. This is not what you don't want to do, because this relic is most likely yours anyway, right? It's on your side of the map. The relics you should be contesting first, in my opinion, are the ones in the middle, because that's where most likely the opponent army might be, either chasing your lancers or attacking you. So you want to make sure this relic right here and like this relic right here are collected, and then maybe later on you can go for the one that's super, super far away. If you have nothing else to collect with your shamans, because you don't want to risk it, right? You don't want to send your first shaman there, it dies, and then you're like, oh god, I could have had a relic already. So, and again, make sure you're using your villager to build towers. As you can see, I'm building a tower here. I'll probably send another villager on this side to build a tower and have that YIM network set up, but also have as much vision as possible. So what is your goal from here on out? The general playstyle is a Lancer crossbow. And if you see, again, depending on what you see from the opponent, that's what you will be making. So if right now the normal response is for your opponent to go crossbow spearman, then you will add, you know, 1, 2, 3 archer ranges, go crossbows yourself if they're Lancers, or go archers if they're only spearman crossbow on the other side. So that is kind of like your main unit composition, and you want to be raiding the opponent a lot with your Lancers, trying to do damage everywhere. And the difference between French and Mongols is Mongol is more based on like harassing in mid-game and then doing one strong attack to try to kill your opponent and basically getting all the map control. Like you want to have it so that your towers are all around their base, seeing everything, and they can't get any resources. And when they do try to get resources, your Lancers shut them down. And if they eventually go for some kind of push, you will have insane amounts of archers to, you know, defend and clear up the spearmen for your Lancers. I would probably add blacksmith here as well, start some upgrades, whether you want, again, upgrades depend on what the opponent is making. So if the opponent has a lot of archers or crossbows, you can get +1 ranged armor. If you're diving under TC a lot, you can go +1 ranged armor, which is something I love getting personally, because the amount of damage it reduces is quite high. Now, regarding economic upgrades, when to get those, well, we got wheelbarrow early, and I would suggest not getting any other eco upgrades until you get castle. Obviously, you don't want to rush them, like you don't want to hit castle and make all 3 upgrades. You want to make sure you got your lancers going, lancer production. You want to make sure you're making your shamans, you're making your towers, and any excess resources you will be making the upgrades with, and kind of extending your position and extending your lead from then on out. The more workers you have, as you can see, the sheep are kind of drying up. Same thing with the wood that I said earlier. You know, I have 126 wood. I just added a tower. What am I going to do with the next wood? Well, I can make an archery range, or if I'm struggling for sheep, I make another pasture. And you should, you know, keep a check on your sheep, how many you have. If you're running out of food, make a couple more pastures. So that's something to consider. And another thing, another mistake that people make very often, even at a high level, they put like 15 workers on gold, and then they get relics, and they have like 3k gold and not enough food. So don't put too many workers on gold, because if you have the relics, the gold will be plenty. Let's just say that. So make sure you have your sheep always set up and have enough sheep, and then have at this point probably like 8 to 12 workers on wood line, and continuously produce towers, pastures, archer ranges, and units, of course. Now, you could also, by the way, if the opponent is going 2 TC and you're harassing, you can also add a second TC now if you would like, because you got relics, you will get sacred sets, and then you go TC to equalize the worker count. There's nothing wrong with that. Or if you're feeling confident and you can do damage and keep the opponent's economy down, you can just keep producing lancers, keep producing army, and kind of choke them out of resources. How many villagers per pasture? Villagers per pasture depends on upgrades. I think the fully upgraded villagers, I'm talking with stone upgrades, you need 3 villagers per pasture. Without any upgrades, it's 5 villagers per pasture, and it also depends if you have pasture on stone, but 4 is a good number, because you will very rarely have all the upgrades, so 4 is a good number per pasture. Now, the reason why I got 19 here in only 3 pastures is because I had a lot of sheep found through Khan, and also these are pastures on stone, so they produce sheep a little bit quicker. That's something to consider. Now, with all that being said, someone might ask, why is Mongol not a good feudal civ? Well, the double unit production is not really that great offensively. It's great defensively. And there are different styles. Again, like there's so many different ways you can play Mongols. I think it's probably the most, I've said this before, well-designed civ in terms of what you can do. You can also, for example, when you get feudal, you can make stables and make like 4 horsemen and harass your opponent. And then do exactly the same thing I just showed you, except you make a stable earlier and you make like 4 to 6 horsemen and harass it with count. That's also good, because you force the opponent to make units, and then you get castle behind it. That's also okay, and that's something a lot of people do. So if you see someone doing that, or if you like doing that, do that, and just continue with the same build as I showed you here. It just depends how you like to play, but I think that castle rushing with Mongols is probably the best, because you want to get to those lancers and take the map control. Now, let me show you a couple of different situations. This is a professional stream. You know how it is, professional YouTuber, right? So what I got is I entered a couple of custom games, and I got a couple of different spawns, and I wanted to show you, if you had a different spawn, how I would place my initial TC, right? Because like I said, this is very good. Like this is a very good spawn, and this is like a easy mode Mongol kind of thing. Now, this kind of spawn, so I spawned right here. I didn't move at all. This is the close wood line. The far wood line is over here. You guys can't see it because this is a screenshot. And then we have stone and gold, right there. So in this game, this is also a pretty decent spot. It's not as good as the previous one, but I would put my TC like this right here, so that my stone would be secured, pastures would be secured, so you could get the boosted pasture production. And then you can get gur here and start collecting gold, but you would most likely need a tower in case your opponent is harassing. So in the previous one, your gold was secure. In this one, you would probably need like a tower here to make sure that you can defend gold and you're not getting harassed. But tower is only 100 wood. So paying 100 wood would make it secure on food, wood, and gold. And this is like the true strength and power of Mongol, right? You need to invest so little to make sure you're not getting harassed. And when I say harassed, I mean with like a couple of horsemen or a couple of, early men-at-arms or longbows or whatever. If your opponent is full on attacking, then you obviously gotta make an actual army. Someone asked, do you ever make double villager production? No, you don't. You need stone for lancers. Now this is a different kind of spawn. We got one wood line is right here, one wood line is here, and if you look, my stone and gold are bad, shit position. I don't even have berries next to me, if I need for emergencies. So this is a pretty bad spawn. On a scale from 1 to 10, this is like a 3 maybe. It can be worse, surprisingly. You might think like this is pretty terrible. It can be worse. Your stone could be here and then your gold could be here. That is probably even worse. The way I would play this, you could place your TC here and kind of protect your stone, but you don't need to. And the reason for that is, what I would do is I would place my TC right here. I would still do the 5 villagers on wood, 1 on stone. You would have to get gur for gold right here. Even though this looks terrible, you can actually defend both of these with a tower, like right here. Or if the opponent is, an archer civ like longbows, I would probably make a tower here. And then if they want to harass the stone, they would have to go all the way around because your TC is protecting this pathway, right? So they would have to go all the way around in order to reach your stone. So even though this looks like a terrible spawn, it's not optimal. But 1 or even maybe 2 towers will protect those, and your opponent is going to have a hard time defending. And kind of the benefit of this is that the gold and stone are extremely far away from your opponent. So they're basically, this is the corner of the map, by the way, right here. They're pretty far away from your opponent. So you always have to try and find like the best solution possible and how you can minimize the RNG of the spawn. This is the last one I'm going to be showing you guys. We got gold here. We got farther wood line here. Oh no, this is the closer wood line actually. So this is the closer wood line, even though it doesn't look close. It's closer wood line. This is the farther away wood line. And then you have stone right here. You don't always want to go for the closer wood line, and this is the example of it. This is a pretty decent spawn actually, probably like a 6 maybe. There will be a little bit of a longer travel time to place your TC compared to if the wood line was a bit closer. But if you place your TC here, you get gold. You don't need a gur, you get wood line, or maybe you would need a gur, but at least your gold is protected. And then your stone is also kind of close to the wood line. You would need maybe to put a tower if the opponent is harassing you, but your best spawn and what you want as a Mongol player is to have your gold close to the wood line, because if your TC can protect your gold, that is the perfect case scenario. But yeah, don't be shy. If you're playing Mongols and you're playing against aggressive civ, don't be shy to throw down a tower. Make sure your gold or stone is protected. You don't want to be losing buildings or losing mining time, and spending 100 wood on a tower and then upgrading it is not a big cost for Mongols. Never berries. Well, there are some situations where you would make berries. So for example, let's say this map, this gold wasn't here and the berries were here. What you can also do, and again, this is the optimizing your build like I was talking about. What you could do is, if you find a lot of sheep initially, you can maybe delay your pastures and then use berries right here to, get your food income until you get castle and then go pastures. But in general, berries, sheep are just better income. That's what it comes down to. So I see berries more like an emergency thing instead of, oh, it's a food source, we should just go get it. Because if you have berries like I have here or here, I don't want to make a gur to go get berries there. I would rather just make a pasture, right? So that's something you need to consider. And also the reason why Mongol is so strong is because it's very hard to harass Mongol players because their food is under the TC. So if you make a gur and you go for the berries here, you are kind of exposing Mongols and making them like other civs, aka having to go out on the map and take the food or resources, which you don't want to have happen. What about fast castle versus French? I'm not sure 1 to 2 towers are enough to stop his knight plus archer Russian feudal. Like I said, if the opponent is attacking you, you can't go 0 units. You have to make units. Like, just to make it clear, guys. If the opponent is attacking you, you have to make units. If you're playing against French player, you have to go spearman, right? And then you can go spearman horseman. If you're playing against English, you will most likely have to go horsemen into archers. This build, like what I showed you here, is a perfect situation if the opponent is like going 2 TC or if the game is passive. But if the opponent is being aggressive, you have to make unit production. Towers are a very good way to support your units, but they will not hold on their own against enemy attacking you. This guide and this video is a little bit different to the English and French one. It's not as, this is when you do this is when you do that, because like I said, Mongol is a very reactive civ and there's no clear plan always. You can have a clear plan like I want to get castle, but a lot of it depends on what your opponent is doing and you managing to properly defend while safely getting into castle. So like I said, try it out, see what works, what doesn't, and it's like a rock, paper, scissors. Horsemen kill archers, archers kill spearmen, spearmen kill horsemen. Opponent makes spearmen, I make archers. Opponent make archer, I make horsemen. Opponent make horsemen, I make spearmen. Wow, amazing. Anyway, let me know what you guys thought of the guide if you're watching on YouTube. The next guide I'll most likely be doing is Rus, and it should be uploaded maybe day after this video. We'll see. Either way, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching, and for the Twitch gamers, let's keep going.